the game was different, right? The rules was different. The ball was different.
The Euro style is different in America.
The Euro style was a lot different than America.
That's the first time y'all seen that Euro step too, huh?
Absolutely.
Okay, so today on the EuroStepping, we have the legendary Steve Bucknall, who is one of the most known faces in British basketball. He's played at North Carolina and the Los Angeles Lakers, amongst other stops. Great to have you here, Coach. Want to have you here again, talking about your college, but today we are addressing kids going to the States and the roles that you've played, and if you can help part some information. So if you can give us your coaching background, just a brief overview of how long you've been around coaching and your club and stuff like that.
Well, first of all, thanks, Coach Steve, for having me on EuroStepping. It's a pleasure. I like the work that you've been doing on the podcast. I'm happy I can support that. Well, I've always envisioned myself of being a coach on the floor. It started when I was a player. Really, just having that connectivity with the head coach and being able to be that link on the floor. Because of my personality, I was always doing a lot of talking on the floor, a lot of galvanizing the troops, so to speak. And, the coach saw me as a leader. So as a leader, you'd always try to create that chemistry with you and that player that you want to kind of lead the guys on the floor. And that's why I found myself doing a lot of time, especially in my later years of playing. So it just kind of translated to me becoming a coach. I didn't really think about it, but I look around the corner, next thing you know, I'm coaching a game. And in 2006, I think my coaching career started when I started the club, London Thunder Basketball Club. And I got involved with a couple other ventures with Future Stars. I just started coaching, and I really wanted to give my experience back to the kids. That's what it was really about, to give kids opportunity and basically I look back on my own career in England and felt like I wasn't given the tools necessary to succeed as I would have liked to. For instance, you always talk about playing people out of positions. Well, that's what happened to me. I played center in England the whole time. Nobody told me I was going to be a perimeter player. They just used me as a rebounder and a defender. So, as soon as I started the club, first thing I did was try to put players into their positions early and give them the skill sets. So I didn't break up the groups into guards and forwards and bigs. I just let everybody learn every tool in the book. Yeah. So from there, I coached there for a little while. Then I had an opportunity to coach in the BBL with London Capitals. And that was, it was a good experience for me. I've seen a lot of guys at that level, being successful and having a go at it. And I said, you know what? Let me see what I can do. I was a little bit inexperienced, I must say, but my background as a player gave me the confidence to know if I could impart some of the skills, that I was able to do on the floor to my team and some of the philosophies that I learned, I thought I could get a decent job done. And to be fair, we won 12 to 15 games without any foreign players, which nobody talks about it, but it's unheard of. We didn't have any foreign players. We had Teo that plays at Surrey Scorchers. I gave him his first run-in as a rookie, and we based our team around young English players. Again, for me, I was concerned about the influx of foreign players in the BBL, so I kind of went a different route. Probably because we didn't have any money either. But,
It sounds nicer when you say you're just focusing on the domestic talent. Yeah, that sounds better.
It was fun. So the coaching started with London Thunder, my club. Started that club in 2006. And then I took a year with the London Capitals, coaching there. And I learned a lot. Obviously, my background, I was used to excellence. And I expected excellence at that level. And then I realized pretty quickly I wasn't going to get it. There's a notorious story I can tell you, is that we lost the game. I remember we lost the game by 50 points, I think it was, with the Capitals. And, you know, I was furious. I've never lost by 50 in my life as a player or coach. I just couldn't believe the lack of spirit by the team to lose so much, the lack of desire to play hard and finish the game out. Because you can lose a game, as any coach knows, but there's ways you lose a game. And I'm from the breed where when I shake the player's hand at the end of the game, he knows I've given it all I've got. So on this occasion, I felt like the guys gave up. So I said, oh, you guys want to give up, eh? Wait till Monday. So Monday comes along. I said, we lost by 50. I said, we're going to have 50 suicides. I mean, these guys looked at me like I was crazy. We got to about 25 and everybody just, you know, they just collapsed.
And this is pro men. This is pro, it's not juniors, this is men.
Oh, this is men's. This is men's. And obviously it didn't go down. It didn't go down well. It didn't go down well, but this was my message. I bet you'll never lose by 50 again. And you know what? We didn't lose by 50. I lost a few players on the way, I must say, after that. But the ones that wanted to stay, wanted to work hard, wanted to play hard. And for me, that's what it was all about. It's not about success to me in playing on the court. It's about giving your effort, give it all you've got. There's always players and teams that are better than you. You've got to realize that. But as long as you give it all that you have and you tried the best you have, you can sleep soundly at night. So that's kind of my attitude when I'm coaching. I want everybody to have fun.
Yes.
And offensively, I allow people to play. Everybody, you ask anybody about my style is, I want you to play like a lion on defense, but then on offense, I want you to be loose. I want you to be to express yourself. I'm not going to try to pigeonhole you into doing things. So I've taken that philosophy all the way through. After the Capitals, I mean, the biggest next step for me was I had the opportunity to coach for England, under 18 boys. I was a little bit mature as a coach, a little bit more experienced then. So I kind of toned it back a bit. So coaching England team, it's a young group, under 18s. They were very talented, the 3-4 years I was there. And I knew that they just needed somebody to show them the way. I think they had the ability in them. And I think, you know, we took a bunch of young boys who were in Division B and we took them to Division A, and we were very successful. We stayed in Division A. So one of the first England teams, under 18 teams, to ever do that. Now we do it on a regular basis, but back then nobody had done it before. That team was special. Luke Nelson comes to mind, Kingsley, you know, there was a lot of other players. Just a team, and they worked hard, but they had that chemistry because they played together for so long. And that group, to be fair, that campaign, I think we won every tournament. You know, even though when leading up to the Europeans, you play in Holland, we played in Italy, and we won those tournaments against international national team sides. It was impressive. And it was the same philosophy, guys. You know, give me all you got on defense. We're going to have some principles that we need to follow. And on offense, do your thing. And I allowed them to do that. And I think I got the best out of the players like that. Instead of trying to pigeonhole them and trying to run sets with multiple movements, I said, listen, we got quick sets. When we need a bucket, we do this. If not, you know, you got 3 seconds on the ball. Make it happen or give it up. That was our philosophy. Play as a team. And I really think that's the way to go with the younger players. Because as soon as you start having them think too much, this is when mistakes happen. This is when like doubt creeps in. So yeah, after that, I settled back in to my club stuff, really trying to develop the youngsters and coaching across the board from under 12s all the way up to men's. I mean, a couple of years ago, we won the Division 3 Cup, or what they call it, playoffs at the end of the year. It's a team that was undefeated. No one thought we could beat them. They were this Lithuanian outfit that was just crushing everybody. And it was funny because everybody's like, oh, they're 28-0. You're not going to beat them. I said, I know exactly how the Lithuanians play. I played them so many times. I can tell you what they're going to do. And it really was the case. Obviously, they're a machine. They run their flex. They play tough. And they got some ability. But, you know, just like in the European campaign, Coach D, I knew what they didn't want. What they didn't want to do is play helter-skelter. They didn't want to do that. You know, they wanted to settle. And my philosophy has always been, if you score 2 buckets in a row, I'm changing the defense. I don't care. And that really unsettles team. And then we put on our presses, our 3-quarter, our full court, our half court, and they just could never settle into the game. And that's how they could never settle. They could never get that rhythm. And basically, that's how we're able to beat them. And that's really been my philosophy, is to really get the guys to believe in defense. But on offense, you have to play loose. You have to play with confidence. You have to believe in your offensive game. Because, you know, the old guys say the ball doesn't lie. If the ball feels that you're nervous, it's not going to go in.
I definitely agree with that. And I love that, especially a lot of our, you know, especially playing stateside, I'm sure you understand that when you get to college programs, a lot of the time you have a specific role. You know, do this, do that. This is what you're allowed to do. This is what you're not allowed to do. So getting players to be loose and comfortable on the court, I think is very important and you know, necessary for their development and for their success. I like it.
And I played in one of the most good programs in America, North Carolina, under legendary coach Dean Smith. So I'm not going to say it doesn't work, but I just felt like I could do a lot more, and I was restricted because of the team.
Yes.
The team does come first, so I understood that. But now, as a young fledgling coach, I see things a little bit differently, and I think, you know what? There's a balance there. There's a balance. I believe in that defense, that team defense, and I believe in that. But also believe in giving the players some latitude on offense so they can play. Because, you know, a smiley player, a confident player is gonna play his butt off on defense for you. So it's a little bit different from what I learned from Coach Smith. But then, you know, then you put that together with what I kind of learned from Pat Riley, which was the offensive side, where, you know, that showtime, that confidence, the ability to try things. You know, I was able to see magic in those guys, and believe me, they weren't restricted. They just played with the flow, with the rhythm, and I found that to be a lot more effective and a lot more enjoyable.
Love it, Coach. Right, so really quick, roughly how many players would you say you've helped get to play college basketball? It doesn't have to be an exact number, just a ballpark.
No, about 20.
Okay.
About
Cool.
20 over the years, we facilitated to go over to the US.
And what do you think that the US basketball system, I'll start again. So what do you think the US system did for those players, why it was beneficial for them to come to the States rather than stay at home?
I think if we're looking at the life skills, it made them independent. We can talk about basketball, but I'm talking about growing up and becoming men. And I think when you go to America, you're all of a sudden, you have to become independent pretty quickly. You have to kind of set goals for yourself pretty quickly. You have to be resilient pretty quickly. All these things, maybe when you're at home and things are a lot easier for you, you don't encounter. But in America, you need to grow up. If you don't grow up, you're probably not going to make it too far. Basketball-wise, I just think toughness. You got to be tough, both physically and mentally over there. And most of the players that I send over there, they're usually on the highest scales of tough, and being able to hold their own. I think again, all the stories I've heard about players going to America, they stumble when they get to the first hurdle, or somebody knocks them down, or things don't go their way. And our players are usually, you know, if I'm looking at some of the key kind of traits I look for a player is resilience, toughness and resilience. I think those are what you need to be successful over there. obviously, then we start talking about, physicality, basketball, ability, your academics, outcomes, and stuff like that. But there's some basics that you need to have, or you're just not going to make it anyway.
Very true. Very true. And I think sometimes the glamour of it overshadows the actual hard work and toughness that is needed. And they think, oh yeah, going to the States is so easy, and they don't have the other stuff that goes along with it. So definitely. Of those 20 players that you've helped facilitate get to the States, can you break down what type of players they were? So were they guards, were they bigs, were they, or was it all a mixed variation?
We usually go for the bigger type player. We've sent big guards. So you can be small. To me, small is 6'5", 6'4", but you got to be playing the right position. You've got to be playing the right position. Mm-hmm. And most of the guys that have the ability and have come through our club have been around 6'4", 6'5", multi-skilled players who can play a number of positions. I mean, we had Cavell Bigby Williams. He was 6'9", but he was a special athlete. I mean, we knew he was going to be able to play that type of basketball in the States. So I would say anybody, for us, you've got to have the right physical attributes. So 6'5", 6'4", super duper athlete, and hopefully having those traits that we talked about.
Okay, I agree. Is there a specific? Well, I guess it kind of goes with what you're saying, but is there a specific position that gets recruited more than the others? I mean, is it just those that are, like Cavell, 6'9" plus, or could you be like a 5'9", 5'11" and still get recruited?
Anybody can get what's in your DNA and your heart and your ability. But I've always tell guards that guards come a dime a dozen. Have you ever heard that phrase? Mm. And I said, when you go to America, you can look around every corner, there's going to be a guard. So what are you bringing to the table that's so different? So if you are a guard, then you've got to be able to either handle the ball extremely well, you've got to be able to score. You're going to have to be an expert in one of the facets of the game to be a guard. If you want to be a point guard, then you're going to have to be able to lead the team. You're going to have something different. That's why I think it's so difficult for guards to make it coming from England, because they just don't have that background of basketball. They haven't seen enough basketball. They haven't been around it. It's not. A lot of the time it's not the culture. That's why a lot of the better point guards come from the States. But I think anybody can play this game. That's the beauty of basketball. Anybody can play it. Anybody can make it to the top. It's really, what you do with the skills and the body that you have.
I like that. Yeah, and you do get, I guess they're one in a million, so to speak, but you do get the smaller guards who do go ahead and play very well. There's an American guard playing college. I've been watching him all week and I feel so bad I've forgotten his name. And he's like he's 5'8", and he's doing a great job. But yeah, there are exceptions to the rules.
I had the pleasure of playing, sorry to cut you, I had the pleasure of playing against Muggsy Bogues.
Oh yeah.
And 5-0. And I remember, when we used to play Wake Forest, Coach Smith would say, if Muggsy gets on you, do not dribble the ball. And you're talking about Kenny Smith here, All-American. You're not talking about a regular guard here. You're talking about Kenny Smith wasn't allowed to dribble the ball around Muggsy. Kenny was like, you know what? I'd rather just pass it up and get it back in the half court. That's just going to be too much drama. Trying to bring the ball up, full court. Because he's there every bounce. He's there. Every bounce you make, he's looking to just take it off you. So there is a place for a small player that can make impact, whether it's offensively, defensively, doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's crazy. Muggsy didn't realize Muggsy was a defensive nuisance.
Oh yeah. I mean, all you can do against Muggsy was post them up. You might have some joy, but don't bring it down.
What's the process of getting a player to the States? So, you know, what from start to finish, coach, what would you say the player has to do, you as a coach are doing in order to get him to, to play?
Well, the first thing for me is talk to the player and talk to the parents. You sit them down, and obviously they'll tell you, I want to go to the States. Most of the time, the kids don't care where they're going, but that's not our philosophy. We said, we've got to get a good match for you and what you need. So we sit the parents down, we look at the options that are on the table, and we have to provide the options. And basically you do kind of a SWOT analysis, don't you? You look at it, you say, well, this might be good here. We don't know, about this school academically. This school's great academically. This team has 5 seniors, you ain't gonna play this year. And you try to find that perfect match. You'll never get it right, but you try to find that perfect situation where you think that, that player can grow, that player can be successful, not only on the court, but in the classroom. Again, we really stress academics in our club. And I really think that if you want to make it in life, you just can't have plan, because my father said, you just can't have plan A, you gotta have plan B too. You gotta have plan B. So, academically, we want these players to strive to be the best they can, because basketball, it lasts, if you're lucky, you might get, a 10-year professional career, or even just a 10-year playing career. So, and then after that, we talk to some schools, we put videos together, we put a little package of what the player can do on the court, and also his academic background. And then we try to match. Then we try to match the schools to the player. And if it goes to that next stage, then we start talking to the coaches and talking about how do you see this player developing? What do you see in this player's future? Because it doesn't matter what I think the player's future is anymore. Once he goes to the States, what the coach thinks. And again, that's a hard one, because you find a lot of the times that the coaches will tell you what you want to hear. Let's be honest, they'll tell you what you want to hear. So if I say I've got a 6'5" guard, I say, I need this guy playing in the guard position. The coach would be like, oh, no problem, yeah. And then, 3 months down the road, you see him back to the basket. So we got to be very careful there. So building relationships with the programs and the coaches are important to me, because you have to believe in that coach and what he says that he will follow through on. So it's a difficult process. Another thing we've not talked about is financially. Some parents can afford to send their kids to certain type of schools. Some parents do not have that money. Some parents need to apply to financial aid, and we have to work out what's best for the child. I'm not in trying to send kids, just trying to find a good word for it, into a place where they just can't succeed. They have to be able to succeed. They have to be able to enjoy the experience. And you don't get it right all the time. And a lot of the times, you're successful. And then some other times, it just, for whatever reason, things didn't go, and kids have to move on, or, they haven't had a good experience. But most of the time with our kids, they come back, they give us a thumbs up and said, you know what, you really helped us. You helped us on this journey. We're enjoying it. I wanted to go to this school, but you persuaded me to go to here, and I'm playing lots of minutes and I feel happy. And, and I always tell the kid, that's from my experience. I know that if you're playing, you're going to be a lot happier than if you're not playing. It's pretty simple. Yeah. If you're playing, you're going to enjoy yourself. You're going to do your homework. You're going to embed yourself in that environment that you're in, and you're going to do your best. If you're not happy, you're going to start to get insular, and you're going to start to do things that you're not supposed to do. And you're going to lose your focus. And we don't want that. So, expectations, managing expectations is the word. Because, you always got kids saying, I want to go to America, and I want to score 30 points a game, and I want to go to Division I. And I'm like, yeah, that is possible. But let's look at look at you now. What are you doing now? You're scoring 10 points over here. So let's keep listening. Let's keep listening.
Yeah, it's tough. And yeah, as you said, the surrounding elements again of making sure financially, can you afford it if there is a financial implication? Some families, right now, I'm in New Mexico, and for me to fly home and back is almost £1,200. Do you know what I mean? So, if a family wants to go and, yes, they're getting recruited in a scholarship, can the family afford the $1,200 or whatever it is to get to whatever part in the States? And looking at that stuff. So yeah, it's not just hey, I got a scholarship, or yeah, there's an opportunity. Like, there's so many things you need to take into consideration.
Exactly right. So many things that people don't think about. It's not just playing basketball, is it? There's a lot surrounding things, and that financial. No one ever talks about it, but it can be a difficult obstacle for some people.
Always, yeah, and it's always you just hear scholarship, and even looking at Division II and NAIAs where they can kind of split it, they just hear scholarship and you think, yeah, and then when it gets down to the ninth hour almost, you realize, oh, I've got to pay insurance, or I've got to pay this tax or foreign tax, or yeah, so it's definitely, you need to make sure you understand everything involved. What skill set would you say is the best for an international prospect to have? Just a generic, of all the kids that you've helped go across, is there a specific skill that they've had that, all of them can do?
Yeah, get to the basket.
Okay.
All the players we sent have been able to get to the baskets and have an impact there, either score or get to the free throw line, or get fouled. I mean, they've always had those attributes. I would say ball handling, but Cavell couldn't handle the ball, but most of them can handle the basketball. I think it's important for me. You got to be able to play one-on-one, right? You got to be able to play one-on-one. That's just to me, that's just basic basketball. You've got to be able to dribble the ball. If you dribble the ball, you're going to have confidence. And I think shooting to me comes next, because that takes time. You need time for that. You need time on the court
to refine it.
Yeah, and you can always get better than that. But if you can't dribble the ball and you can't play one-on-one, you're not going to have much success for me. So we look for players with those type of skill sets.
Okay. Can you suggest why an international player would get recruited over a domestic American kid?
Probably if you're big, bigs are hard to come by. So they're always looking for international bigs. I'm sure if you do a breakdown of the data, you'll see there's probably more bigs that go to the States than guards. Academically, you could be stronger. So it's easier to get into school. That sometimes plays a part. And, a lot of schools, just like yourself, they like international students. They love to bring in international students to bring them into their culture and have kids experience different, people from around the world.
Yeah, that's true. There's a lot of coaches that prefer, speaking to coaches on this series already, the biggest comment that I get is that the international students, student athletes, are more mature. They've had to be independent a little bit longer, or the fact that they're leaving their home and coming to another country, they're a bit more grown up mentally, and they don't have to worry so much. Whereas the domestic kids who, first time away from home or whatever, they're still a little bit like, needing parental guidance. So, it's all good. How, as you just touched on it, how important is education to this whole process?
For me, it's number one. As a father myself to two young men, and also living the journey myself, I know there's you play basketball maybe this much in your life, then you got the rest of your life. So what are you going to do with that? So academics to me, and having and having the ability to achieve in that arena is number one to me. You cannot put your so-called eggs all in one basket. And I think kids need to know student athlete means exactly that. Student first, athlete next. And they've got to take that approach. And they've got to make sure that once they finish their American journey, whatever journey it is, that they have some qualifications, they have something to fall back on. So it's extremely important to me when we match up the schools that academically the schools are going to give the kids the support so they can be successful also in the classroom and on the court.
Now, as you've gone through the journey, and as I said, not this episode want to get into too much, but really quickly, how pressing was your current GPA when you was at college, when you was at North Carolina? Was you able to, not hand in assignments or not do work and still go to practice or play games, or was it like super strict and it had to be done?
Super strict. I mean, as I said, I went to North Carolina, so we were told from the very beginning by coach, if you don't go to your classes, you don't play. I mean, you had some draconian measures to make sure you followed through on that. One of them was the 6 o'clock study hall in the morning. So if you didn't go to class or you didn't fill an assignment, you'd have a 6 a.m. Study hall. And part of that would be you have to go running for 30 minutes and come back and study. And the coaches would literally come to your dorm or to your apartment, pick you up and bring you there. So, people didn't want to fall into that trap. Also, we'd have spot checks where you'd be in the class with your classmates and you look back and coach is standing at the door, one of the assistant coaches, making sure you're there. And if you wasn't there, 6 a.m. study hall. So you had one way to do this. Either you do what they do, or you take up residency at the gym, because you'd have to get up pretty early to get there. So, and then we had our tutors. One of the things coaches did, he set up study hall, kind of a study period for the players. It's been so long, I can't remember what time. It was in the evening, and we go somewhere and you have 3 or 4 tutors there to support you. So we knew what coach was about. He was proud that he wanted every player to get a degree. He said, I want every player that comes through here 4 years to get a degree. And most of them did. You'd have to be a really bad character or really just didn't want to pay any attention to it not to get a degree. As time went on, you had these players that come in for a couple of years and they would leave, but they would still come back in the summers and get their degree. So that shows you, some of the teachings and philosophy of Coach Smith just flowed through their veins. Michael Jordan came back, Sam Perkins, these guys all came back and got their degrees.
That's nice. And on that, and I'm glad you said that, because I'm always forever, and I'm sure most coaches are always battling the players that just want to play versus getting their academics. So knowing that you as a former Laker and playing at North Carolina, you still, even at the top programs, they are still hammering on about grades and all the rest of it. So hopefully that puts it into perspective. Right, as you mentioned, you got 2 sons. So, let's say your sons are amazing athletes, and they're top 10 in the nation, ranked for basketball. At the same time, they've got a 4.0. What would you choose? Would you choose a better academic college, or would you choose a better basketball college? What would you advise?
It would be as an advisory capacity, first of all, because they're nearly grown men, as you said, and they kind of make that final decision, especially when they get over 18. But my advice would be to find a good balance. Again, find a place where you can play straight away, and also find something that you want to do down the line, and then marry that with the best school that can offer you that. So if it's business, find a good business school that, if If it's IT, find a school that has a good IT. Whatever it may be, try to marry that up. So when you go to the school, it's not just about basketball. There's some interest for you on the academics front, and you know that, if you get a degree from that school, it's going to be worth something. That would be my advice. Whether they do it, that would be another.
That's another thing. Yeah, I got you. And that's I was speaking to Renee Bush. She was on our last series, and very talented young lady, and she went to the University of Pennsylvania, which is the Ivy League. So going to an Ivy League versus going to another high major school I always find that an interesting balance. And I guess as you said, it's about finding that balance in between. So yeah, it's definitely a something to consider. This section, coaches, is kind of for the young coaches starting out. So kind of like me, 12 years ago. How can a coach aid the development of a young player who's aspires to play in the States?
I think as a young coach, you got to start to build your own philosophy. You're out there and you're seeing different people work, and you're seeing different styles, and you're trying to develop your own. While you're doing that, you want to support your players. So for me, you have to look at the long game. You look at the player and you say, what can this player kind of become in 5-6 years? Where do you see this player? And then you do everything in your power to take him to that place. As I said, for me, is you get a 6'3" player, for instance, and yes, you could win many games probably in England, playing him at center. He's 12, 13 years old. Playing him at center, you could dominate. Let's be honest, you can dominate. Yeah. But the good coach would be like, you know what? I'm going to take this player outside, give him some ball skills, give him some perimeter attributes where he can take, and we may suffer a few games. Don't get me wrong. When I need a basket, I'm going to put him where I need to put him. But before then, I'm going to allow him to go outside and shoot that shot. I'm going to allow him to maybe bring the ball up, not yell at him. That's the first thing you see when he looks awkward, and you start yelling. I'm like, well, you got to encourage him to do that. And you only give him that confidence by working with him in practice, saying, give me something, I'll give you something. And I think coaches need to have that balance. You give me something, I'll give you something. You give me some good rebounding, I'll let you shoot a couple threes without getting mad, So it's a building a relationship with the player and letting the player see his future. That makes sense. Yeah,
it does. Perfect sense. And I think that's a really good way to, that reward system as well. I think it works well because it gives them targets and goals, and it's like, hey, now I'm going to go rebound harder so I can go and potentially get my perimeter time. So
we didn't talk about trust, but that's how you're building that trust with that player. And when a player trusts you, he'll run through a brick wall for you. You know that. When a player doesn't trust you, then doesn't really want to go down that dark alley with you because he doesn't know what's going to happen. But when he trusts you, he'll be like, yes, coach, whatever, I believe in you. And that's what I think the young coaches should be striving to build that type of relationship with their players. And it takes time. It isn't built overnight. It's a long process. But if you've got a young player and you're a young coach, you've got time. You've got time to build that. And you can kind of experiment. That's what you should be doing all the time to me, experimentation. Not with the players' livelihood, but you know what I mean, experimenting. Having them doing different things, having them being in awkward situations, having them having to always react and learn how to react on the go. Basketball is a game that happens in less than, things happen less than a second. Things are always changing. And building that confidence in the player to knowing you can make a bad play, but then a second later you can make a good play. And we move on. A lot of players are younger players. If they make a bad play, it takes them 10 plays to get out of it. I'm like, that play's over, son. We need to get going again.
Yeah, next one, next move. I hear you. Again, as a young coach, should a young coach let's say they've got this prospect, let's say 20-year-old coach, 22-year-old coach has got a young Cavell, should they solely focus on that individual player in practice and in game, so make them the focal point, or should they just still have their holistic approach and work them into it?
I think that's a difficult one for me, because you can state the standard thing. Yeah, you should work with all the other players and be realistic about it, or you could say this guy can make it. This guy's got a chance of making it, so he needs some special attention. For me, you look at the players. Everybody says everybody's equal, but they're not equal. You're going to have some standout like Cavell, who's 6'9", he's 13 years old, 14 years old. You got to pay that respect and say this guy can actually make it all the way. What can we do to facilitate that? What can we do to support that? I don't want to take it away for the rest of my players. I don't want to build the whole program around him. But what I will do is make some time for this guy. I'll make some time. That's what we did. We'll make special sessions just for him. Coaches, we had 3 or 4 coaches were tasked with, you got to find 30 minutes. If we all find 30 minutes for Cavell, he's going to become a better player. And that's what we did. Because what you don't want to do is build that jealousy within the team setup. Honesty is my policy. It probably gets me wrong, but at the end of the day, when you have a special talent, he deserves special attention. That's my philosophy. But we don't want to lose the team philosophy either. And if players see that you're taking too much attention away from the team and focusing on one guy, then you're going to lose the 11 other players. So it's a balancing act. That's why I said you have to do it outside of the team. Make time outside of it. So, we had coaches used to put in 30 minutes with Cavell after practice. Over a number of months, his performances got better in the game, and the team got better.
Yes. And
then other players would say, "Well, we want some time." We said, well, "We've never stopped you from having time. If you want time, we make time." And then it gets out of hand, and then you never go home at night because everybody wants time. Everybody wants time. But not everybody can be a Cavell. Does it make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
It's a difficult one when you're coaching in youth basketball. What we try to do is be fair and equitable, which means Cavell gets 30. Maybe we'll say, okay, the guards, we got 3 or 4 guards. There's 30 minutes for you. Then we work with the guards. So we tried our best, but at the end of the day, it was quite obvious to see that Cavell needed our attention if we wanted to support his dreams.
Nice. What's the best way? And I don't know if you'll be able to answer fully, just because of, I guess you've never had the issue. But what is the best way for a young coach to contact a college coach about a player? What's the best way? Again, 22, you don't really know any coaches in the States, but you've got this amazing athlete that you believe is special. How would you contact a program about this kid?
Well, first of all, we're all coaches, so we all respect each other. So you shouldn't be afraid of reaching out to a coach. You can find their details pretty easy. You know that. You can go online. You can send an email. I mean, it would be better to send some video. I think they're not too long, not a drawn out 3-hour video, but a quick 2 to 3 minutes or 5 minute snapshot of the player. Introduce yourself respectfully, and I'm sure in time you would get a response back from the coach. And obviously you got to be persistent. That's also the key. You have to be persistent. You go one time at it and you don't get results. You throw your hands up and I'm not going to. No, that could be the way of the coach testing you too. How persistent is this guy? Does he really want it? And sooner or later, if you keep sending messages, you will get a response. You will get a response.
Nice, I got you. What's the worst thing a coach can do for a player wanting to play college ball?
The worst thing wanting to play college ball. The worst thing is to not manage his expectations. I think to to tell the player you're the best thing since sliced bread. You know, you're better than Michael Jordan. You know, and have this player going around with an inflated opinion of himself. I think what you have to say is that anything is possible. You can do anything you put your mind to. But what I will tell you is you're going to have to work your butt off. And as I always told my son, I go, there's 1 million players or more your age who want to play in the NBA, maybe more. What are you going to do differently to make it? You think you could just do the regular thing like everybody else is doing and make it? Or are you going to go the extra mile? Are you going to do the extra practices? Are you going to go out and run every day? Are you going to get sleep, your correct sleep, nutrition? Are you going to do all these things? When you're doing all these things, then we can measure you up to the best of the best. So basically, I'm flipping it back onto the player and saying, you've got a challenge. What are you going to do about it? So don't blame it all on me. You have to be the one to lead on this.
That's good. Good. I like that. Would you say the objective of a good coach / program is to produce players that go and play college basketball in the States?
England, I think the ultimate goal is to be to send players to whatever level they need to go, whether it's universities over in England, whether it's academies in Europe, whether it's America. Whatever you believe your level is and whatever you can achieve, you can achieve. Not everybody's built for going to America. Nobody talks about that, but not everybody's built for that. You may have a better option on your door front. You're not even looking at it. I mean, people talk about Cameron Hildreth, but he hasn't gone to America. He's going to Wake Forest. So, you know, I'd love to see more stories like that. I'd love to see more of our players going through our system and then going straight to the States. That shows that our system is solid, our infrastructure is good, that we can develop players in our own soil.
That's good. Coach, I'm really appreciating your time, man. I've got like 4 questions and we'll get them out as quick as possible. What's your views on the different levels of collegiate basketball? Especially there's a big stigma around junior college being bad, and some players think they are a failure if they don't go and play Division 1. What's your views on the different levels?
There's probably a level for everybody. You just have to find it. So if that means your pathway crosses junior college for you to achieve what you want to achieve, then so be it. So I'm not against junior college. I'm not against any division if it's the right pathway for the player. If he gets his support network around him, he can achieve anything, through any level. Again, I recall my friend, Carl Brown, didn't get any scholarship offers when he was in Florida in high school. Ended up going to junior college in high school for a couple of years. After high school, for a couple of years. And then ended up at Georgia Tech as one of the key ingredients to one of their the successful teams in the history of Georgia Tech, going to the Final Four, winning the ACC. So he created that journey. He sacrificed, he worked hard. So it can happen to anybody. So it depends, your fortitude, your desire, and how much you want to work.
Yeah, I hear you. And I think, kind of to piggyback what you said, the fact that every level is suitable, there's a different level suitable for every person. And I think that understanding, again, kind of, what we spoke about earlier, you've kind of got to be realistic in your own talents, your own ability. Do you know what I mean? You can't be a junior college player who probably has a ceiling of, Division 2 or, a low Division 2, talk about, hey, I want to go play for Gonzaga. It's not gonna, it's not realistic. So it's about tempering your expectations. So I definitely agree with that. As a pro coach who's been able to recruit college graduates, how often did you recruit guys coming back from college? And did you think that those guys were more developed than you know, their counterparts that stayed within the domestic region?
What I would say is the guys come back a lot more humble. I would say that after their experience in the States. You know, they go out there with big dreams and big ambition, and then they realize that there are some guys out there that can play. When they come back, what you see is usually that the body's changed, right? The body's changed. They've gotten into that, you know, weightlifting regime and understanding that you have to be at the peak of your powers physically. That's changed. Well, I've never seen a great shooter come back either. I've never seen a great shooter. A lot of them still rely on their physical ability in terms of getting to the basket, in terms of athleticism on the court. I would say that probably because they've surrounded themselves in that environment of basketball, is that their IQ does pick up. I've seen that where they understand the game a little bit more, the nuances of the game, and when to kind of the reaction part of the game. They you know, instead of when they left, they were probably like, you know, every 10 decisions they made, you know, 8 wrong.
Okay.
You know, now they've lowered that, so it's maybe 50%, which is good. You want to take it lower, of course. You want to make the right decision at the right time, but as you know, during the game, you have multiple options. You have to try to choose the most efficient run and the right one for you. So I've seen that. You know, their game definitely gets better. They're probably on the court more, watching a lot of basketball, being around that environment. It does make a difference. I mean, I noticed that all those years ago where I hardly watched any basketball when I was young. In fact, there was no basketball on TV, maybe Channel 4. And that's going way back.
Way back. Before Channel 5, right?
Okay, before Channel 5. So you couldn't really develop your basketball IQ and your sense of what's happening. Now you get it in front of you every day. You just put on YouTube and then, so it's got to make a difference.
Definitely. I hear you. It's always interesting because you do get the topic of, and I guess this is what this section kind of touches on, but you do get the discussion of staying versus going, and what's the, you know, if you end up coming back home, apart from the, I guess, the personal experience of, hey, I've traveled, I've seen many things, if my goal is to get better at basketball, am I going to get much better staying at home or going to the States?
Again, I mean, America's the home of basketball. Whether we like it or not, we have to. We have to understand that it's the home. You know, everybody wants to play in America. If you don't play in America, it doesn't mean you're a failure. That's the first thing. People shouldn't look at it as a failure. People just look at it as a journey. And enjoy the experience, being able to play a game that we love. I think it's a blessing. So, you know, players coming back to England or Europe, they have something to offer, and they should understand that, whether it's their own ambitions or giving back. I love players who come back and try to engage with the community they come from, or other communities, and try to give back. I've seen that happening a lot more. Somebody like Carl Weedle comes to mind. I don't think he went to the States, he was in Italy, but he's always giving back to the youngsters for that next generation. I tried to do that, to give back, to inspire the next generation of players to go further than I did. And that's what it takes. So coming back to England, I think you can. It's difficult to improve, to get better. I'm not saying I've seen anybody get better, but I've seen players mature.
Okay.
I've seen players mature, and sometimes maturity is better than ability, especially when you're talking about team. Understanding your role, being able to accept your role, understanding that you're part of a bigger thing. That's what happens when you get mature. You don't think it's all about me. And then you can start building, a coach can start actually building a team around players like that. I prefer to have 10 of those players and one superstar player.
But what if you have an extremely talented player? And we've had a few, and you know, especially you just mentioned Carl Wheatle went to Italy. But does an extremely talented player have to go to college in the States to be successful? You know, how much do you value the other routes, if you will?
There's other routes that are valid. I mean, we've had guys, Kareem went to Real Madrid as a youngster, 14. He's now a professional basketball player, Carl Wheatle. There's others who have gone to Europe and been quite successful. If you're super talented and you want to go to the States and that's your dream, I don't see why anybody should stop that. I don't think the States is for everybody, but if you're super talented and you've got a chance of making it, why shouldn't you be allowed to have that experience of going to a university, meeting different people, being on campus, playing college basketball? It's a great experience. And I won't want to stop anybody from having that type of opportunity. But it depends where you are. It depends where your mindset is. Luka Doncic, he didn't go to college, and he's an all-star. So it's about putting yourself in the best situation to succeed. It kind of depends what the person wants from his journey and his life. Some people see it going to America. Some people see it getting, turning pro straight away and getting into that lifestyle. There's positives and there's negatives to either way.
True, it's true. It's always pretty tough because I think the college route, I think sometimes you can get lost in the shuffle. You go to, you choose a wrong program. And I guess the same is true for pro. But in college, if you, get with the wrong program, get in the wrong system, I think you're at greater risk at being lost and not achieving. I think sometimes if you go to Europe, especially if you're an extremely talented player, I think, let's say the ultimate goal is the NBA. If you go to Europe, you always have scouts on your case. You're making a wage, you're an earning, you're getting better, and you're almost predetermined. You're already a pro. So I think that's a good way to look at it as, what's the end goal? Why are you going to go to college versus being a pro? Why is it better to be a pro versus going to college? So definitely a great point there, Coach.
I've seen guys flip-flop. I mean, there's a young man I'm hearing about, Jeremy Sochan, English and Polish heritage.
Yeah.
He was a great talent. I saw him play under 18s. He torched us. And he was an underage, player, and he was impressive the way he did it. And that's our friend Charlie. But anyway, the way he did it. And then I heard he went back to Germany to play. And playing in Germany. So, he must have seen something that he didn't like, or the opportunities, probably because of COVID, he couldn't play. And then he jumped back to Germany. So, like I said, there's many, I always say, my dad says, many ways to skin a cat. There's many ways. You just have to try to navigate the right path. And you're never going to know what's right until you get there and go through it.
Yeah, I definitely hear you. Last couple, can you, here we go, controversial for you. Can you give me the negatives about going to the States to play basketball?
The negatives?
Yes.
The negatives are, as you said, you could get lost in the shuffle. If you don't get it right, it could be disastrous. America's a tough place. As you know, nothing's given for free there. So your environment is key, that you get to the right environment and have the right supporting network around you. If that's not right, you'll be left on an island by yourself, and and mentally you may not be prepared for that. So I think guys have to be a little bit more due diligent in when they're going to the States to make sure they don't drop themselves in a shark bowl, so to speak.
True.
Negativity, there's not much. As long as you've done your due diligence, to me, and you're not caught off guard, you're not going to a place where there's no housing, you don't have those type of things to worry about, which again, people have fell into that trap, thinking that things are all free, and then they get there and they realize, I got to pay for housing, I got to pay for my food, I don't have enough food, stuff like that. So you got to do your homework. I never saw anything negative about it, but I had a good experience. I know many others who haven't had a good experience, getting caught up in the wrong crowd. If you're a follower, you need to be careful of that, who you're following, who you're surrounding yourself around. The thing about college, compared to the pros, you probably have more downtime in college in the States, where in the pros you have more of a regiment of 2 practices, 1 in the morning, maybe something in the afternoon, 1 in the evening, and it keeps you kind of on track. In college, you may just have 1 practice. So, you got a lot of time to either study, which you should be doing, or hang out on campus. I know things haven't changed that much in 30 years, so you have to be careful. Again, it's all about the people around you. I really think that they can help you or they can hinder you, and those are the negativities I found. For me, the food was a problem because I've never seen so much junk food in my life.
Yes.
It was really difficult for me to stay away from the McDonald's, the Hardee's, the Popeyes. They got so many of them.
So accessible too.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when I was in college, we used to get a good meal, very good meal, and then by 11 o'clock, I'm finding myself at Hardee's, get another burger or something, and you're young, you can burn it off, but you do put on a few pounds, and you got to be careful what you're eating. I mean, it's so apparent now with the game and the athleticism and the body types that you can't go over there and indulge yourself in food, can you? Because you're not going to make it.
One of my motivations for getting to the States, one is that, hey, my personal thought is, if I'm actually good at this thing, I need to go up, I need to get in the jungle. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can stay in England and win whatever you're at. I was at Worthing and won, and was at the Scorchers and what. Like, not saying that it's easy, but I'm like, if you want to go, if you're as good as you think you are, go play with the big boys.
I agree.
And that's one of the things that's got me over here. And then plus, I mean, hey, yeah, kind of. I guess it's bittersweet for you because that's your facility. That's something off your own blood, sweat, and tears. And I guess with that, it comes of you having to do, as you said, be the janitor. And my thing is, hey, well, I don't want to be the janitor. I just want to be the guy that gets hired or fired. And you know what I mean? Do my job. I tell people I've got no problem being fired if I'm not doing the job. I'll learn. Trust me, I'll learn.
You're in that environment. Yeah, that's where you want to be. Like you said, you want to be in the jungle. You're there.
So
you're young enough. You're young enough. I mean, when you start getting older, and you have to make decisions about your family, about what you want to do, and it's tough being a coach because, as you said, you can have a job and a year later you can be fired. In some cases it could be 6 months, 2 months. It depends, isn't it? So it's a lot of pressure. So commendable to you. You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Appreciate it.
All right, what's the last one?
Last question. Last question, Coach. What advice would you give to someone who is between the ages of, let's say, 13 to 16, even 17, and they want to play collegiate basketball? What would your advice be?
the first thing is you have to kind of saturate yourself with basketball. Just watching basketball. I think that's the first thing. I think I missed out on that. A lot of my generation missed out just being able to sit down and just watch games and start to understand the feel, the flow, and what players are doing to be successful. That's the first thing. Then you have to get out on the court and do it. And if you really want to be a baller, for me, you've got to find court time. I was pretty good at that. That's the one thing I was good at. I used to go after school and spend 3-4 hours in the gym after school with my school clothes on. Obviously, when I get home, my mom would slap me and be like, hey, your clothes are drenched, your pants are ripped. Why are your pants ripped? You know what I mean? I'm like, I was on the court. So it's different now. You've got to find the court time. And obviously, you got to be inside a program with a good coach. It does help. But it's not where you really learn. For me, you learn by yourself, being on the court, training yourself to train, learning how to train. It's not just, I always tell a story about Luau Deng when I used to come back in the summer as a pro, and we used to get together at Crystal Palace. A bunch of other pros who were playing at the time. Pros come in, just want to play. We come in and play. And because we've kind of gone through that stage, if you know what I mean. We've done our drills and, warm up. But Luau Deng would never want to play. He would just be over there diligently on one of the courts, just working on his move. And everybody in the gym recognized you like, well, you got a baller over there. There's a proper baller because he's honing his skills. How many kids do that? How many kids shoot 500, 600 shots a day? I wish I could turn back the hands of time. I mean, because I couldn't shoot a lick. So I would have been there shooting 500. I could get to the basket. That wasn't a problem. But you know what I mean? You got to get into the gym. You got to get yourself a good coach, a good program. But to me, it's how you train by yourself. Can you learn to train by yourself when the gym is empty and there's nobody there except you? How bad do you want this game? And I think that makes the difference. Obviously, physically, you have to have some tools. But saying that, you don't have to be that physically gifted. If you can shoot, if you can shoot the ball and make 8 out of 10 shots every time, there's always be a place for you. So you've got to figure out how you want to play this game. To me, you watch a lot of basketball, you figure out where could I fit? What could I do? And I mean, I should do that at a later stage, but I was like, well, I can shoot this corner three, so I need to work on that. That's my strength. I can get to the basket with my right hand, and I was happy with that. But what about the left? Never worked on it. See what I mean? Yeah. And to me, it's quite clear now, you have to be a multi-skilled player. You cannot think that I'm posting up or I'm just going to shoot or my handle's not going to be just quite right. Everything's going to have to be at peak levels. That means you got to work on everything. And I think if you put that discipline in and dedication, and you need a little bit of luck, and obviously, physically you got some tools, I think you can do well. And just that mindset alone, even if you're not successful in this, generally you're going to be successful in life.
Yes, definitely.
Because you built up that determination, that resilience, that discipline to work. These are the same tools you're going to need to get ahead, regardless of what you do, whether it's coaching, whether you're a doctor, whether you're a janitor. It's the same thing. I think it's all a mindset. And obviously, God, whoever you believe in, has to give you a gift.
I like, that coach, that was beautiful, man. That was, I think that hit on everything. And it's been great catching up with you. Some really insightful takes, especially, very briefly on your time at college and stuff. So I'm looking forward to doing it again, where we get to pick a little bit more about your journey as a EuroStepper and leaving, going to the States, playing in the NBA, and then playing pro and how that whole process comes. So really looking forward to that. But thanks for hanging out with us today, Coach.
No problem, man. I enjoyed sharing some of my own beliefs. They were just my beliefs. By the way, everybody has to have their own opinion, but it's my beliefs from my journey and my experience. But it's always a pleasure to give back.
Beautiful.
My name is Stephen Bucknall. I'm the director of coaching at London Thunder Basketball Club. It's been a pleasure to be on EuroStepping, and I want to give you one last message. Either you want to be a basketball player or you want to play basketball. You make the choice.
Appreciate you watching the EuroStepping.
I want to thank everybody for watching EuroStepping.
Watching the EuroStepping.
The EuroStepping.
The EuroStepping.
You've been watching the EuroStepping.
The EuroStepping.
EuroStepping.
You've been watching the EuroStepping, a great podcast show hosted by Coach D.